Hello, welcome to the 4th episode of the Aussie Footy show presented by the BJ show. This episode, hopefully Aiden will join us as well as BJ will cover all round 1 Fortune reviews, as well we'll also cover Aiden, hopefully as I mentioned, will join us as BJ will share our Fortune reviews for round 2, predictions, all of that. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Well, the first round of footy is done. What a great round, as I got 8 out of 9, which is great. Before I share and start all my thoughts and reviews for round 1, I'm going to share first round of the ladder of the BJ Show footy tipping competition. So here it is. After the first round, we have Andrew with 6, Elizabeth with 6. So they're all not great, but it's all pretty close. 1 point apart from 6 to 8. We'll share that very shortly. We come to Will with 7, Melissa with 7, Aiden, the co-host from the BJ show, is on 8, with Alex is on 8, Bevan on 8, BJ, myself, is also on 8, as well the other band as well as on 8. So it's all really close. And how awesome to see 9 people have joined the BJ show. The regulars have joined. Thank you so much. So let's now start round 1 Fortune reviews. What a great way, as I said last time, as I may mention again. Well, Thursday night's back at the MCG for the traditional of its continues. Richmond Tigers take on the Carlton Blues. What a game. And I'm going to say congratulations to Richmond Tigers on their rebuilding pathway to defeat Carlton by 13 points. Down by 27 at half time and took control of the second half, which is awesome. I went with Carlton for this game, and Richmond was a bit better and proved in front of 80,009 both Carlton and Richmond supporters. So I'm going to share my best game for this player. It's Toby Nurkervis, the captain from Richmond, which included a perfect game performance with 123 A4 fantasy, with 2 goals, 21 disposals, 4 marks, 6 tackles, 35 hit-outs, 7 cleanses, with AMA 329 metres around. So well done on your game performance from Toby Nurkervis. We now return back to Friday night footy. What a great way to be back on the second time at the MDG. Hawthorn take on Essendon, another great rival we have here in the AFL. So well done to Hawthorn with the mother win. Yes, and I went with Hawthorn. That was a really awesome result. Was that Essendon? Well, Bella, heads up, you know you do well. There was 80,735 with a mother 700 more fans were at that game, which is great, the MCG. So a mother also sold out crowd. Hawthorn had a great start overall for 4 quarters, getting the big win over there. Well, a big rival of Essendon Bombers for 26 points. I do think that Essendon will bounce back against LA. They know that they are capable to do really well. Losing my 4 goals against a good quality like Hawthorn, they're coming out that quick rebuilding. You know, Essendon are not in that rebuilding phase, but they were never giving up, and they never gave up. So best of wishes for Hawthorn Essendon in round 2. We'll share that very soon. So I'm going to give it to the Essendon star, Jay Colwell. My goodness, from Essendon, even though they did not win, this is an incredible game performance. 140 AFL, 146 A4 fantasy, 1 goal, 36 disposals, 4 marks, 11 tackles, which is the most tackles, and 10 clearances as well, 476 metres game. So a performance that even the team losses, it doesn't matter. That is just an insane game performance. You get 400 plus in metres, 10, clearances, 11 tackles, like including a goal, 30 plus disposals, almost. That is just incredible. Well done on your game performance, Jay Colwell from Essendon Bombers star. We now come to, we're known for Super Saturday afternoon football. We got a couple of games, which is 4 games to share. The first game will go head down to Geelong at GMHBA Stadium for Geelong. Cats host Willdale will take on the Fremantle Doggers, and the fans was 25,372 fans, which is great, with including that new area down at Geelong. Well, what a great way and great start for Geelong with their first game, as well Fremantle as well, their first game on the Oval. A hot hot day down at Geelong. Geelong started well. They were up by 9 goals at half-time, and everyone thought it was all over, but Fremantle have other ways to respond. In that third quarter, it was their response, 6 goals to 1. So, Fremantle down by 21 points at three-quarter time. They could actually won that game, but Geelong had other ways to do what they want to do down at the Kennedy Park, down at the Gully, and I think Geelong will just a little bit better. Let them have a good quarter. The boy Fremantle looked very, very good in that third, but I think Geelong was just a bit stronger and better experience with the new recruit, Bailey Smith, which I will share very soon. He just performed so well on his first game in the blue and white, which now I'm going to share my best player is Bailey Smith. Come to my best player, which include 128 for Fan City, 1 goal, with his first goal in Geelong colours, with 32 disposals, 5 marks, 5 tackles, 7 clearances, and a 551 metres game. So well done on your first game. Like I mentioned, Bailey Smith in Geelong colours. Fremantle, you did well. Bounce back against Sydney. I know you'll do well. Share that game very soon. We now come to the second game. We're back in Melbourne, and that's where we are now. We're heading, so I apologise, we're now heading to the grand final match in Sydney. Sydney Swans, Brisbane Lions. What a game this was. 34,406 fans at this game. So another good crowd down at the SCG. Both teams, Sydney want to rebounce back. They started really well in that first half. They really should have done that in the last year grand final. But then I think they just really struggled from last year. New game, grand final rematch. Knowing that Dean Cox is a good coach. Knew he was going to be under pressure for the first couple games. Knew he's coming in with a good team, and knowing what can happen with Sydney Swans. Look, it was a good win for Brisbane. They know they found a way to win by 4 points with the margin. But yes, I think Sydney will bounce back against Fremantle Dockers, which both teams will want to bounce back big time. And Sydney must win next week to get their season back on track. They want to play that final spot. Well done to Brisbane. Get the job done. Take a with a win. Their first game for the season due to the opening round. We're not going to talk too much about that because that's a few weeks back. But look, it's just being a very, Brisbane knew that Sydney will bounce back, and they did. Sydney started really well, but unfortunately Brisbane just got the way to get some magic moments there. So I am gone with Josh Dunkley from Brisbane, 130 density, 27 disposals, 5 marks, 10 tackles, 6 clearances, and amazing most metres, 614 metres game. So well done to Josh Dunkley from the Brisbane Lions, star being the best player. Heading back to Melbourne as we had a double header in Saturday night footy. Now we head to, my product that was Twilight Football in Sydney. Now we're heading back to Melbourne. We got a Melbourne double header at Marble Stadium, which is the Western Bulldogs, known as Footscray Bulldogs, the 100th anniversary as they take on North Melbourne. Then we'll share the Collingwood Magpies Port Adelaide at the MCG. So now I'm going to share Western Bulldogs take on North Melbourne. Strong start from Footscray with 5 goals. North Melbourne with that 1 goal for that quarter time. North Melbourne found a way to really get with that 5 goals to 3, so 8 goals in the second quarter. Really dominate, 10 points apart, so very close. New North Melbourne really want this win, and they will win for 5. So 53-43 was just a 10-point lead to Footscray. Third quarter, we're 4 goals each share, so make it really even. Very similar margin, that 2-goal lead to the Footscray Bulldogs. With lots of goals in that second half, which was 5 goals for in the final quarter. Very even, but it was the Footscray Bulldogs' first win and just got the job done. North Melbourne, good effort, knowing that they are right back. This is the North Melbourne I would like to see. They're just not that LeBron side anymore. They're going out of that rebuilding. It's taking a long time. Get North Melbourne, get to the game, support your team in round 2. We know you can do it. I'm hoping you'll share who I went for very soon, so stay tuned for that. We now come to the MCG second Saturday night footy, with Collingwood Magpies first game and first home game 2025 AFL Premiership season. They take on Port Adelaide, as they was also their first game as well. Do apologise of the attendance of the North Melbourne Western Bulldogs, Footscray Bulldogs crowd attendance. Well, this was 63,282 fans at the MCG, which we all know that was one way or another. Collingwood just control all 4 quarters of football. Port Adelaide's skills wasn't really bad. You cannot do that in a game of AFL. Really, it was just Collingwood had the better skills, better strength, got forward very quick. Port Adelaide slipping over, not just in great form, and the biggest loss, Kent Hingley, knowing that they will bounce back against Richmond and in front of their supporters. They've got to do well because Richmond looking very good, and my goodness, Thursday. We'll find a way Richmond to take on Port Adelaide in a good contest, which we'll share very soon. So, look, like I mentioned, Collingwood had the better skills on the MCG. They know how to play their Collingwood. Port Adelaide, they know how to play the MCG. Was not their night. So, I'm now going to get straight into my best player. It's from Collingwood. Dan Metstay, former Lion, with 100 and former Brisbane Lion player, which includes 124 A4 fantasy, 3 goals, 17 disposals, 10 mark, 263 metres game. So well done to Daniel McStay with your game. But we now come to Super Sunday afternoon football, and we are heading to the first time in 2025 April 26 season with our to the Adelaide Oval. With the LA Cruise game first, we come to the Adelaide Cruise first home game for this 2025 April 20 season as take on St Kilda. And before we get straight into it, well, in a moment, we have 42,985 fans. So well done to the Adelaide supporters as well as some of St Kilda supporters coming to Adelaide to watch this game. Adelaide start well with their skills, they're marking, they're kicking the goals, and they're pressing, stopping St Kilda's goal. Really knowing that Adelaide, I so want to play September, and I think they'll be there this year, season 2025. A good moments of the game with St Kilda, they did really well, but I don't think it was enough. They could not even get out of their defence half. It was Adelaide making that wall, and they did so well. And it was a first, from the very first bounce, it was all Adelaide from the first quarter. Now, before I get into my best player, I really like to congratulate to Jordan, the former star, two-time premiership, if I got my correct. Congratulations to Harry Boyd on your AFL debut in St Kilda colours. You know, you are an absolute star. I know you'll do well helping out in the ruck. You've got a great strength to play this level. You're qualified to play this level, and I know you'll be looked after at St Kilda. I know that this was your dream to play. You're a premiership star at North Red Legs, and I thank you for your time at North Red Legs, and I know you'll do super well. I know all the North Red Legs supporters, we're so proud how much you perform in the St Kilda jersey. So getting back into the best player, I'm going to go to their captain Jordan Dawson from the Crows. The best player of amazing, kicking from 65 metres out, and a great goal. You know, don't matter when it was, but he included, Jordan Dawson included AFL fantasy 126, 2 goals, which one was the goal was from 60 to 65 metres, 27 disposals, 9 marks, 4 tackles, 648 metre game, with the biggest highs over to the other player from the Collingwood game, which I'll share that in a moment. We do apologise for that. Let's just see who was that game. So it was a bit early in the start of this episode. It doesn't really matter. Here we go. It was Josh Dunkley from the Brisbane Lions. It's the second highest game meters, hitting 600 plus metres game. Incredible. So well done to the LA Crows with their first game, getting a nice win with the St Kilda Saints. Look, bounce back for next week. We know that you'll bounce back against a good quality side like Geelong. It's not going to be easy, but we know how good you can play against Geelong at Marble. It's always a close game. So heads up, well done to both clubs, to the Crows and the Saints. We're now back at the Melbourne MCG. We returned as a second Sunday afternoon footy, and we have so much to cover. We got the Demons and the Giants. Demons and the Giants in a low attendance, which is not great at the MCG. You need a bit more better, but 23,278 fans, which really make what should be in the game of the round, and in my opinion, it was. It was only 3 points difference. It was close. It was reasonable. Not perfect. Not awful low scoring game, but it was decent low scoring game, and it was very even all game. I'm going to share right now how it all worked for those who won that 3 points. So look, Giants started well. They were 7 points to 41 to 34, low scoring. So knowing that Melbourne have to come out, the third quarter was 5 goals to 2 goals to the Giants. At the end of the third quarter, we had Melbourne lead by 11 points, so almost 2 goals. Melbourne should actually had that win in control. I should have 2 crosses. It was more guaranteed than that. But Giants really do find ways. They love playing the MCG. They should be playing more grand finals since they're joining the AFL. But 3 goals to 1. It was all GWS holding on. And that's it. That's the team winning 77 to 74. I think really a great game to watch. I think, like I mentioned, it was decent. It was not the best attenders. Should have more fans at the MCG. You're going to have that kind of supporters. You should be going to Marble because you can't have 23,000 at the MCG. It is a 90,000, 100,000 packed stadium, and it's a bit disappointed, but that's alright. So now I'm just going to get straight into my best player, and that's Lockie Wakefield from GWS. 111 AFL fantasy, 34 disposals, 5 marks, 4 tackles, 9 clearances, and a maybe even the third highest 455 metres game, in my opinion, my best on ground. So we now come straight heading to Perth, the final game, as that is what we are right now, as we head to Perth for the first time in the Premiership season, and we have West Coast, their first home game for the season, as they take on the mighty Gold Coast Suns, which they really had a decent 46,532 or almost sold out crowd for West Coast, seeing what they're going to do, and they just look like the same West Coast from last year. I'm sorry to be a bit more negative in my opinion, but it was just not their day, West Coast. Gold Coast took a strong win. They want to prove they want to play finals. All the AFL community will like to see Gold Coast playing an AFL final spot, and they deserve big time. And this is not just a little win. It is like a 10-goal win for the Gold Coast. Most biggest win ever on the road for the Gold Coast Suns. So congratulations on that. So I think West Coast not want to make it. It is a rebuilding season, big time. Adelaide's been there. North Melbourne's been there. A lot of those, and Richmond now going through that phase. And I think, oh my goodness, can we see improvement West Coast Eagles season 2025? Maybe a tiny bit, but they got to find a way to really get back on track. You go and get a 46,000 fan West Coast supporters at a good, decent cheer score, being behind your team from the ghetto, and it just didn't look good for West Coast. And I think there's going to be a lot of work doing, and it's going to make a lot of headache for the players, but just keep improving each week. That, like I said, they've lost good players in the off-season, West Coast, and I just think West Coast have improved in their recruiting these players. I just hope they'll do well next week on the road. Look, I just think I need to get straight into the best player for Gold Coast. It's Jarrod Watts. My goodness, before I get this big hit out, it's the most best hit out in a long time in AFL history since the modern days. They include 125 AFL fantasy, 13 disposals, 4 tackles, 5 clearances, 200 metres game, and the most of all time in a long time, 68 hitouts against a West Coast ruck. Did not even make an effort. And you guys, a improved ruckman wants to be playing. He's proved Jarrod Watts from Gold Coast since day one. He's walking to that club since they joined he's making his AFL debut. He has proved himself one of the best rucks in the AFL in this season so far. Only just one game gone. So congratulations on Jarrod Watts on your best performance. You don't have to you can have 5 marks, 2 tackles, 300 metres game and hit 70 hit out. That's still incredible. But West Coast, heads up, get better, what you need to work on, and do your best next week. Gold Coast, enjoy your week off next week in round 2. So that is all now from the first round. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts and reviews. We hope Aiden will join in very soon in his reviews and thoughts. If not, he will join in round 3 and maybe do a bit of a round 1, round 2, and a little bit of extra in one episode, but very, very short and sharp. So we now head to round 2. We are back at MCG, Thursday night footy once again, and we've got Carlton for a second time in a row on Thursday night. That got to perform better. Carlton in their perform as they take on Hawthorn. What should be a great game to watch. Obviously, look, Carlton needs to bounce back from last week's loss. Lose by 13 points is a painful against a rebuilding Richmond side, and no one saw that. And I think Carlton will bounce back against credible talent Hawthorn side, which I have gone with. I think Carlton just look a bit, they do have a great team, but can they play 4 quarters of football? I think they will. I think it'll be close all games, but I think it was more strong to Hawthorn's favour. So Hawthorn for me. We're now back into the double, the second time in a row. Friday night football, and this is a very special edition Aussie Footy show presented by the BJ Show, the 100th anniversary. Footscray, the former known as Western Bulldogs, take on the Collingwood Magpies and the 100th anniversary between these two clubs. And what a game this should be. It will be close. It'll be a good crowd. I reckon it'll be up to the 85,000 fans will share that next episode. Of each game will share their attendance, because we really like to share all that here on the Aussie Footy Show. But I think Collingwood on a way, I have gone with them. them a little bit slightly stronger. It will be close, as Collingwood will play more advanced at the MCG to the Footscray, because they played at Marble against North Melbourne last week. With Footscray, they have a good team. I think they'll play even more better than North Melbourne. It will be really, really close. There'll be lots of contests. Will be awesome to watch with 4 quarters of football. And how you know these two clubs do play well at the MCG, but this will be the first time this season that Footscray will play at the MCG for their 100th game anniversary against Collingwood. Wish them both well. We now come to Super Saturday Footy, and we only got 3 games to prepare to 4 games last round, because we have 2 teams on the bye. We'll share very soon. So we do head to the MCG for the 3rd time in a row. That's happened twice in 2 rounds. We've never seen in my time known for such a long time, because the MCG is such a good oval to watch footy. Instead of Marble, we're heading to a bigger oval. Should be 65,000 at the MCG between the Bombers and the Crows. Well done to the Crows last week against St Kilda, as well the Essendon Bombers over Essendon. Essendon will bounce back. Before we get into that, we do head to the MCG, then we head to the Adelaide Oval, then we're back at Marble Stadium for Saturday night footy. So we do start on the first out of the Super Saturday footy we are going to share. It's the Essendon Bombers host their first game as they take on the Adelaide Crows. What it should be, actually won the games of the round. It's always, the last few times these two have met, it's been under 1 goal. And last time Josh Rochelle saved a big game winner, winning the game. Just high scoring football will be on the mark, but I don't know what the conditions in Melbourne at MCG in the next few days. Should be, if it's wet football, Essendon do play well at MCG in that condition. So in the history of the club, they do really well. So Adelaide do play well in their history playing wet football. They do play well. So, but more momentum go to Essendon Bombers playing well. What I have also went for the Adelaide Crows in this game. I think I am a Crows supporter of. I think it will be very, very knowing that Essendon will bounce back from that loss. And it's only 4 goals. So it's going to be a very who wants it more. And Adelaide will want to get on another win. So it'll be a really good contest. So now it's time to get in. We return back to the Adelaide Oval for the 2nd time. It's Port Adelaide's first home game for the season as they take on rebuilding Richmond Tigers. Having that, they have so much confidence from last week's win against Carlton. I really think Richmond should do really well. They love playing the Adelaide Oval. The last time Richmond played here was against the LA Crows last season, and they got the job done. So no Tom Lynch or West Tom Lynch, they could actually do really well. They'll find some surprise, but knowing Port will bounce back. They must bounce back from that awful loss against Collingwood at the MCG. They cannot lose bad skills, and I think Port Adelaide will bounce back, but it will be low scoring. Yes, I went with Port with this game, but I'm not overly confident if I get a tick or cross, knowing that Richmond are the team to really look out, and knowing that they're not going to get a lot of wins and stuff like that. But my goodness, like Richmond do find ways to find wins at the Adelaide Oval. They got good base supporters here in Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval, knowing that I mentioned but I think gone with Port, as I mentioned before, with this win, it should be a good contest. I think for 4 quarters of football, Port must do better and really perform strong. But we're close as well. We come to the 3rd and final Super Saturday, and we only got the 1 Saturday night football, and we head back to Melbourne at Marble Stadium. St Kilda's first home game for the season as they take on the Geelong Cats. Really, I think this will be a really interesting. Could we see a better performance from St Kilda? Yes, I think so. It will be, I think, obviously I'm going with Geelong with this game. That's it, Geelong Cats. And this should be a good game to watch. One of the games of the round. I really think it will be. St Kilda has to really bring that pressure up 10 times better. Ross Lyon will be talking during the week, hey guys, we need to bring that ball pressure against a good team like Geelong. I think they will. It will be low scoring. Knowing that it's at Marble, it's always a low scoring between these two sides. It can be anyone. That St Kilda can find a way to win, and I think it can be anyone's game to win. But with both St Kilda and Geelong, all the best for this. We now come to the next 3 games on. Now we come to Super Sunday afternoon football, and got 3 games to share with you all. The first game is at Brisbane, first time at the Gutter for season 2025 as they take on the must rebuilding West Coast Eagles, as West Coast Eagles must perform well against them, and it will be a massive test. Then we go to the return of Melbourne for the North Melbourne take on Melbourne Demons. Will be our awesome game to watch at Marble Stadium, as returning back for the second time as Fremantle first home game against the Sydney Swans. Should be a good game to watch. Let's share Brisbane taking on West Coast Eagles on the first Sunday afternoon football at the Gutter. I don't want to say much with West Coast, much as they are not the great performance against Gold Coast Suns. It is another bit rebuilding season for West Coast, and I think they know they've lost some really good talent, quality players, and move on to other teams. Could we see a better West Coast Eagles this season and play good football? Of course they can. You got to improve week in and week out. But when you don't perform great, you're not going to get a big crowd. But having 46,000 plus to see your rebuilding West Coast Eagles, that's impressive. Obviously, I went with Brisbane Lions for this game, and how they performed last week in the grand final rematch could be anyone's game. They know they'll improve that, Brisbane, but this will be a good opportunity for Brisbane to show what they are once you see in season 2025. They look really excited, Brisbane, but I can't tell you too much. It's week in, week out for West Coast, but we'll look forward to see what West Coast perform as well, Brisbane. Now we're back in Melbourne for the second Sunday afternoon football, and what a game this could be, and anyone to win. And we are now, like I mentioned, back in Melbourne. I may just mention this now at Marble Stadium, and this should be one of the games to be watched. I went with Melbourne. It's just like I mentioned with Saturday game. Good effort last week, Melbourne Demons against GWS. Knowing it was a close game with North Melbourne had more momentum playing at Marble. I think they'll have a good crowd in, and against Melbourne, they know how to play there. Melbourne's not a big band playing at Marble, but you never know what can happen. But I'm backing up Melbourne for this game. Now we come to the final game, and we have done it for round 2. What do you think of my thoughts and reviews and tips and predictions? Let's go straight into it. As I mentioned, we're heading to Perth at Aussie Stadium for Fremantle hosting Sydney. Big game for both Sydney and Fremantle. But Sydney must win this game to keep there and get their win and get their season on track, which Fremantle also need a win to also start their season on board if they want to play that top 4 with a lot of conversation in as well. I've gone with Fremantle at home in front of their Purple Army. I think they'll do better. They're very good at home, Fremantle. They've done it for some time, and I think they did pretty well against Geelong Cats in one quarter football, and they were down at one point very much 3 goals, and unfortunately they lost by 10 goals. That won't happen against Sydney. I think it will be a decent, really good contest. So best of luck for Fremantle in Sydney. Well, we also include 2 buys with Gold Coast and GWS, all having their buys, enjoying your week off, and that's to do with opening round. Okie dokie. Well, that is all for another episode of The BJ Show, Aussie Footy Show presented by The BJ Show. Well, that's another episode of the Aussie Footy Show presented by The BJ Show, and thanks for listening as well. Want to hear more? Then listen to every episode wherever you get your podcast. Alright, that's all for now. See you soon. The BJ Show is